Hey fellas, my name is Matt, and in this video, I'll be going over some misconceptions people have about the Rubik's Cube. I wanted to make this video because it's very easy to make incorrect assumptions about cubing, and most of the ones I'm going to go over in this video are very common. This video is aimed more so at people who don't know how to solve a Rubik's Cube. If you're one of those people, it's 100% okay if you thought some of these misconceptions are true, and if you have any more questions, feel free to leave a comment. It's good for the YouTube algorithm, and I want to help people understand this stuff as best as I can. If you like this video and want to see more cubing, gaming, sports, and game show related content from me and my friends Elias and Dash, subscribe to Me Plays, we'd greatly appreciate it. Rubik's is the original, so it must be the best, right? It's not all that surprising that most people would think that the original Rubik's brand makes the best cubes and all the other companies out there are cheap knockoffs. Especially when most of the other cubes you'll see in physical stores are awful picture cubes that cost a couple dollars at most. But in the grand scheme of things, Rubik's is actually one of the worst brands for speed solving. Companies like Moyu, Gan, and Chiyi make cubes with the ability to adjust the tightness, which is something Rubik's didn't have until very recently, less blocky mechanisms with small gaps, like this, in between certain parts of pieces, which allows them to move faster and slide over each other more easily, and magnets that'll help align the cube in between turns, which gets more and more useful the faster you get. If you watch videos of people in competitions, you'll notice that almost nobody is using Rubik's products, and there's a reason for that. If I scramble the cube longer, it'll be harder to solve. Not quite. Believe it or not, any 3x3 cube can be solved in 20 moves or less, no matter how much you scramble it. No one is able to come up with these 17 to 20 move solutions on the fly, but the limit to how much a cube can be scrambled is probably a lot less than you think. A lot of people will say something like, I'll scramble it so much that it'll be too hard for you to solve, which isn't true. Methods for solving the cube aim to cover every possibility for each step of the solution, which means there will always be an algorithm or an intuitive way to go about solving every part of the cube. If you scramble a cube with 100 moves, good solvers will usually be able to solve it in around 60. You can solve the Rubik's Cube? You must be good at math. Although there is a fair share of math involved in how the Rubik's Cube works, if someone's good at math and can solve a cube, that's correlation, not causation. All it takes to solve a Rubik's Cube is memorizing a few algorithms. Depending on the method you learn and who's teaching you, you might not have to learn algorithms that are longer than 9 moves. Regardless, a lot of cubers do also happen to be good at math, but you don't need the quadratic formula or L'Hopital's rule in order to solve a Rubik's Cube. Do you, have strong hands? I've never had any clue how to respond to this one. Next. Cubes get harder the bigger they get. As surprising as this may sound, if you know how to solve a 5x5, you know all the concepts necessary to solve any other size of cube. The only difference between a 5x5 and, say, a 9x9 is that a 9x9 has way more pieces, so it just takes longer to solve. There are also some special cases you can run into while solving the last edge piece, but they can be solved with the same algorithm you would use for edges on a 5x5, just applied in different ways. The 2x2 is a waste of time. So this one isn't necessarily false, but I see a lot of people wonder why I even bother with 2x2 when I can solve a 3x3. On a 3x3, you have 3 different types of pieces: centers, edges, and corners. In many cases, you're either solving edges and corners at the same time, or you're just doing corners while preserving the edges. Because of this, some 3x3 algorithms are longer or harder to execute than 2x2 algorithms. Since you have no edges to worry about, this opens the door to all sorts of new algorithms and methods that wouldn't be possible on a 3x3. Top 2x2 solvers are actually able to plan out their entire solution in the 15 seconds you get to inspect the cube before starting the timer. This is a technique known as one-looking, and it's just one of the many reasons 2x2 is a popular event that has official competitions. But yes, you'd be right to say the 2x2 is a very easy puzzle in comparison to the 3x3. Wait, why did you twist that corner? To answer this question, let's talk about disassembling a Rubik's Cube. If you took out all the corners and edges and put them back together in a random permutation, there's only a 1 in 12 chance that that position can be solved with standard turns. Because of the way the cube works, you can never swap exactly 2 pieces with each other, and you can never have exactly 1 piece that's misoriented, which means you can't have 1 flipped edge or 1 twisted corner. The most common of these unsolvable positions is when only 1 corner is twisted. Because of the way speed cubes are designed, it's much easier for a corner piece to twist in place in the middle of a solve, something that was borderline impossible on Rubik's brand cubes because of how much more squared off the pieces are. When this happens, the cube becomes unsolvable, so you have to twist a corner in the opposite direction to solve it. Cubers will not twist corners unless it's absolutely necessary to do so, and there are actually rules against intentionally moving pieces around outside of standard turns in competitions. If your cube reaches an unsolvable position because of a corner twist or pieces popping out during the solve, there is a limit to how many pieces you're allowed to swap, flip, or twist to make it solvable. And that'll do it for this video. If you're a cuber, feel free to send this video to your friends if they have these sorts of questions, and leave a comment with other common misconceptions. I may turn this into a series in the future. If you're not a cuber, any and all questions are welcome, so feel free to ask away in the comments. Alright, good night fellas, sleep well.